The afternoon sun filtered through the tall studio windows of the Kelly Clarkson Show, bathing the colorful set in a warm glow. The audience was buzzing with anticipation as Gwen Stefani made her entrance, clad in a bold black and white plaid blazer, platform boots, and her signature bright red lipstick. Kelly greeted her with her usual infectious enthusiasm, arms outstretched, exclaiming, "Gwen Stefani, everybody." Gwen smiled, though it was noticeably tight, and accepted the embrace. She settled onto the couch beside Kelly, and at first, everything seemed typical. Two superstars reminiscing about The Voice, family life, and the highs and lows of touring. But even as they joked and laughed, a subtle tension simmered beneath the surface. Viewers might not have caught it at first glance, but backstage staff could sense it. The clipped tone in Gwen's answers, the slight arch of her eyebrow, the way she kept shifting in her seat. Then came the moment everything shifted. "So," Kelly said, flipping casually through her blue cue cards. "Let's talk The Voice. Fans were super bummed you didn't return this season. Can we talk about that?" Gwen's smile faded, her posture stiffened. "That's a loaded question," she said slowly, her tone cool. Kelly chuckled lightly, trying to diffuse the tension. "I mean, it's just what everyone's been wondering. You and Blake were the heart of that show for so long." Gwen's eyes narrowed ever so slightly. "Were we? Funny, that's not what I felt behind the scenes." The audience murmured quietly. Kelly blinked, visibly thrown. "Wait, what do you mean?" Gwen leaned forward, her voice measured but unmistakably sharp. "I just think a lot of what goes on backstage doesn't line up with the family-friendly image. There's politics, there's manipulation, and when you bring in someone you trust, like Blake, and they use that for ratings, it stops being fun." "Gwen, I didn't mean to suggest anything shady," Kelly responded, trying to recover. "You know how it is, we just want to give the fans what they love." "No, Kelly, you want to give the fans what gets you the most buzz," Gwen fired back. "There's a difference." The studio fell into an awkward silence. The audience, who had been clapping and laughing moments earlier, now watched in stunned stillness. Kelly's smile wavered. "Look, this isn't that kind of show. I invited you here because I admire you. We've been friends for years, Gwen." Gwen shook her head. "Friends don't bring up tabloid drama on national television and call it a fan question. You know exactly what you were doing when you brought up The Voice. You wanted this moment." Kelly's expression shifted, the warm southern charm now replaced with something colder, more guarded. "That's not fair," she said quietly. "If you had an issue, you could have told me privately. Like when you blindsided me with that guest judge slot 2 seasons ago. Or when producers told me you were already signed for the next cycle before I'd even heard from NBC." Gwen's voice now carried an unmistakable edge. "You want honesty. There it is." The tension was now unbearable. Producers frantically whispered in headsets. Stage managers looked at each other, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let it play out. "I think we need to cool off," Kelly began, but she was cut short. "No," Gwen interrupted, rising from the couch. "I think I need to leave." Gasps rippled through the audience. She pulled off her microphone, handed it to a startled assistant, and slung her purse over her shoulder. With one last glance, part anger, part disappointment, she turned on her heel and walked off the set. The camera lingered on Kelly for a beat longer than usual. She sat frozen, processing what had just happened. The normally lively and vibrant atmosphere of her show had turned into something surreal, and the audience could feel it. The screen quickly faded to a commercial break, but the damage had already been done. Backstage, Gwen's team scrambled to get her out of the building, while Kelly was whisked away to her dressing room in silence. In just under 15 minutes, a casual daytime talk show appearance had unraveled into a live, unscripted moment of real-world drama, a falling out between two powerhouse women who once called each other friends. And for everyone watching, one thing was certain: this wasn't just celebrity gossip, it was personal. The internet ignited within minutes. Clips of Gwen Stefani's abrupt walk-off from the Kelly Clarkson Show flooded social media, and hashtags like #GwenWalksOut, #KellyVsGwen, and #Daytime Drama trended across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Fans were polarized. Some sided with Gwen, calling her bold for standing up for herself, while others criticized her for turning a light-hearted interview into a public spectacle. Others were just shocked. Two of music's most beloved women, both former voice coaches and close friends, had collided in front of a national audience. Behind the scenes, damage control was in full swing. Gwen's team issued a carefully worded statement within hours, explaining that Gwen felt blindsided by unexpected questions regarding her personal and professional decisions and chose to remove herself from a situation that no longer felt respectful. It didn't name Kelly directly, but the implications were clear. Meanwhile, Kelly and her producers debated what to do next. The walk-off had already happened, it was out there. But how they responded would define the narrative. Kelly sat quietly in her dressing room, watching the footage on a loop. Her assistant hovered nearby but said nothing. She replayed the moment Gwen's smile faded, the cold tone in her voice, the unmistakable fire in her words. It stung. They weren't just coworkers or industry acquaintances. They had bonded over divorces, motherhood, and the weird pressure of being a woman in music for over 2 decades. The next morning, Kelly made a decision. During a special segment at the top of her show, she walked out alone, no guests, no backup band, and faced the camera with calm determination. "I want to start today's show by addressing what happened yesterday," she began. "Because I believe in transparency, and because I owe it to you, our viewers." The audience was dead silent. "I've always said this show is a place for honesty, joy, and authenticity. But sometimes, authenticity is messy. Yesterday, Gwen and I had a real moment, one that was painful, and one that wasn't planned." Kelly paused, then continued, her voice tinged with emotion. "Gwen and I have known each other for years. We've laughed together, cried together, toured the world and sat in those big red chairs together. I respect her. I always have. I had no idea that asking about The Voice would hit such a nerve. That wasn't the intention, but I understand that's how she felt." Applause broke out, slow at first, then swelling. She smiled briefly but didn't waver. "We all have our moments. I've had mine. And if Gwen ever wants to sit down and talk about it, not on camera, not in front of an audience, but just as two women who've been through the same battles, I'm here." The statement won Kelly enormous praise. Fans and media outlets called it classy, grounded, and refreshingly human. She didn't lash out. She didn't play the victim. She simply owned her part and left the door open. But Gwen didn't respond, at least, not directly. 3 days later, she posted a series of Instagram stories showing herself in the studio, singing emotionally charged lyrics over a stripped-down guitar riff. The caption read, "Not everything needs to be said out loud. Some things are better in a song." Though she never mentioned Kelly by name, fans instantly speculated that a new track about betrayal or conflict was in the works. Meanwhile, reports began to surface that Blake Shelton, Gwen's husband and Kelly's former Voice co-star, had tried reaching out to both women to smooth things over. According to unnamed insiders, he was frustrated and torn over the fallout. "He hates drama," one source told Us Weekly. "He wants both of them to talk it out and move on." Despite his efforts, weeks passed with no reunion. Media outlets milked the tension for all it was worth. Talk shows debated whether the feud was genuine or orchestrated. Late-night comedians made jokes about daytime's newest cliffhanger. Even fans started theorizing that it could all be a publicity stunt for an upcoming collaboration, or diss track. But those close to Gwen and Kelly insisted it was very real. Their falling out wasn't just about a single question or a TV moment. It was about years of quiet tension, unspoken grievances, and wounds that had never quite healed. By the end of the month, both women had returned to their respective careers. Gwen teased a new single with cryptic lyrics about loyalty and smiling faces with hidden knives. Kelly announced a mini tour and dropped a heartfelt acoustic ballad called "No More Silence" that many believed was her response. Whether they ever reconciled or not remained unknown. But one thing was certain. For all their glamour, fame, and talent, Gwen Stefani and Kelly Clarkson reminded the world of something undeniably human: that even friendships forged in the spotlight can break under pressure, and sometimes, the hardest conversations are the ones that never happen.